we wrapped from recording a couple days ago, and then that night, Joel Embiid had 70 points, which is just a huge deal, especially for a center. I mean, we saw Donovan Mitchell and Damian Lillard do that last season, but it's so different when you have this just big, gigantic guy in a perimeter-oriented league, just scoring those kind of numbers. It's very Wilt-esque. Prime Shaq wasn't even doing that, so he also had to share the ball with Kobe.
Very true. I mean, 70 points in today's day equates to like 120 in like Wilt's days, 150. It's more impressive in my eyes.
You let it be known that you were not a big fan of the Wilt 100-point.
It's just ridiculous.
Yeah.
It's no offense. Again, his numbers point to that. His numbers are insane.
Yeah.
And there's only one reason behind that. We all know that. I don't want to say that to be disrespectful towards Wilt.
Yeah.
But there is a reason why Wilt's numbers are so ridiculous. That's just because he played against literally no one that could guard him. I mean, all he did is catch the ball and put it in the basket. Someone like Joel Embiid scoring 70 in a modern day NBA, getting double teamed, triple teamed every time he touches the ball, shooting from the outside, free throws, mid range, 3-pointer, face up. I mean, it's just a total different level of skill and a total different level of difficulty. 70 points in today's day equates to like 150 in Wilt's days. I'm not even kidding.
Well, so 50 years from now, are we going to look at Joel's 70 points game and be like,
because that was the beginning of, I don't want to say the beginning of basketball, but that was very fresh still with basketball.
Yeah.
Basketball's developed now and advanced enough to the point where even though the game will continue to, evolve, I definitely could say that like there's a sweet period in terms of there's a time period where you could see the game like come together.
Yeah.
I think we're there.
Right.
So I think from here, you'll just see the evolution of players and how skilled they are. But like, yeah, we're it's 2023. I think we can confidently say that if you go back 20, 30 years from now, the 90s and stuff like that, I would have still counted it then. Scoring 100 points in that era would be nuts.
Yeah, David Robinson had 70, 71.
Yeah, that's nuts. So, you know what I mean? Especially even then, you could even credit the game was slower. Yeah. The defense is more physical, so that's what I'm saying. Like, sure, 30 years from now, players will be more skilled. Maybe they'll be shooting from half court. I really don't know, but it's still hard enough now to where, yeah, it's ridiculous.
So
70 points is nuts, man.
Yeah, and you know what? He did it against, obviously one of the most heralded rookies that have come out of the NBA since LeBron James. So he did it in his first matchup against him. Do you think that he, going into it, was also the anniversary of Kobe's 80-point game? So
yeah,
he went into that with a little more motivation, to stick it to Wemby, kind of his welcome to the NBA moment. Also, I know he did it against, Brett Brown was on the other side of that bench. So there's a lot of different things that probably factored into it, right?
Yeah. He had plenty to pick from in terms of motivation.
Yeah.
It's interesting. There's a lot of pub about that game of him scoring 70, but very little was about how it was on Victor.
Yeah.
But it's interesting. But you know what I mean, though?
Yeah. But how about Joel's reaction when he actually lined up against Victor for the first time and he saw the height difference and stuff?
Yeah, he did the whole face and everything.
That's hilarious.
It was all personal.
Yeah. And then the way I was tracking Joel's, points and then Cat's points, it felt very 90s Sammy Sosa, Mark McGuire, like tracking the home runs and stuff. I was like
70 points. I want Victor to remember this game.
I don't think he'll ever forget it.
This I think this is a defining moment in his career. I think you have them, especially if we're talking about the storyline. We talk about the Jordans, the LeBrons, the Kobes, the Shaqs, the whoever. There's always these games. We talk about Kobe, the air balls in the playoffs. You know what I mean? And you go back to Shaq and some of his maybe his mistakes that he made in Orlando early on, and Michael losing to the Detroit all the time. And, I don't even think he made the playoffs did they make the playoffs his first couple of years? The Chicago, they were bad. You know what I mean? Like, they all had these similar experiences, right? Victor's on a team that's very bad. The Spurs are a bad basketball team.
Right.
They're obviously rebuilding. He's the first piece, the main piece. And, this is this trial and error that he goes through, even though he's putting up decent numbers. It has to create some type of, there has to be good habits that come out of these bad habits of this team. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It can't be like a losing culture and these things are like affecting him. And that won't happen with the Spurs and with Popovich over there. I don't think it'll happen. But having 70 motherfucking points dropped on your dome top is something that he should take with him for the rest of his life. We talk about welcome to the NBA moment.
Yeah.
Brother, that was personal if I've ever seen it. You've gotten more hype and more publicity than any other player in the NBA, including LeBron James. From this summer to now, I haven't seen the NBA Instagram post anybody more than you, Victor. You go into Philly to play the most dominant center in the NBA. And I mean, Joel's before the game, is all mind games. You know, the little tall thing, laughing. He's very light. You know, this is, I don't think was that at halftime or before the game? I don't know when he did that. It's before, regardless of which. It's all this like thing. And then when he gets in there, it's no sweet love. My man is out there.
Yeah.
Mid-range, three-pointers, free throws, you name it.
Yeah.
Physical, scoring on him. I mean, Victor couldn't stop him to save his life. This should be a game that he fucking marks down in his calendar.
Yeah.
And remembers. And then he should be looking at that next Philly game and mark that one down in his calendar. I'm like, okay, you got me this game.
Yeah.
I'm not saying I'm going to score 70 or anything like that. He's not the player that Joel is right now. But I'm coming after you. It's going to be a little different.
Yeah.
Because that was completely personal. I don't give a fuck what Joel says. Brett Brown on the other bench, cool, great. I don't think it's a big enough reason. What are these other reasons?
Kobe anniversary,
great. I mean, sure. I guess we could all tap into that.
Yeah.
That was him playing against Victor. And he said, there's not a lot of bigs for me to get up against. It's really usually just Jokic and Karl.
Yeah.
This kid, he's gotten all this press. Talking about he's a next. I'm going to go ahead and give it to him. And he gave it to him. 70. Right. Unbelievable.
Can I tell you something? I watched the Donovan Mitchell 70. I've seen some other 70-point games, and I felt like they had just gotten to 70. Joel's felt like he probably could have had more. It was a different kind of 70.
Listen, we've seen a couple guys score 70, and I'm not taking anything away from him. 70 points is an obscene amount of points.
It's crazy.
So I got to give you
20 points. It's a good game after 50.
50, yes. Yeah. So I have to give credit to every player that's ever scored 70. Let me say that first and foremost.
More than credit, yeah.
With that being said, there are some 70-point games that have been a little nasty. They've been like, it felt like they were forcing their way there.
Right. But also three-pointers help too and everything like that. You know, if you're hitting threes, it's
very true. But like you look at Donovan Mitchell 70, it went to overtime. A lot of free throws. Not that Joel Embiid don't shoot free throws.
Yeah, he shoots free throws.
Joel Embiid's like the king of free throws over here. And that wasn't actually as bad. It's not too bad. Donovan Mitchell's not. The Devin Booker 70-point game is it's ridiculous. It doesn't even count. Yeah. They're down like 30. I don't even know
if you're given his age and everything like that. And that was kind of his walk. That was like his all right, I'm up here with these guys.
No. Again, 70 points is a lot of points. I'm not like saying, I'm not trying to talk shit. I'm just, that 70-point game was not the same as Donovan Mitchell and Joel Embiid 70-point game. I don't care what anybody says. They were down 20 or 30, man.
Yeah.
You understand that? So they weren't even trying to win the game. Jay Crowder got into it with them after the game. They're like, yo, y'all holding up y'all were down 30.
Yeah.
They were fouling on purpose so they could get the ball back so he could continue to try to go score.
That's obviously a little different than what Joel had going on.
Joel like just in a game scoring and then like chilling on some plays, or Donovan Mitchell really trying to win the game in overtime is totally different from your team being down 30 and everybody on your team. Every time the other team comes down, you're like fouling or making like BS kind of defensive plays or playing Ole defense so you can get the ball back quick to see how much Devin can score.
Yeah.
That was nasty basketball. It wasn't a good 70. With that being said, 50 of it was real. He had like a legitimate 55, 60.
Yeah.
It's not like we haven't seen Devin score 50 before. He just had 50 the other day in New Orleans.
46 last night.
Yeah, 46 last night. The guy's a scoring machine. So this isn't anything against Devin or anything against his scoring ability or the fact that we don't think he probably could score 70 in a game, because I'm sure that fucker could. If he really, really just was like, you know what? I don't give a fuck if we win or lose tonight. I'm going to go out there and hoist some shots. Devin could probably put up 70 because he could score that well.
Yeah.
With that being said, if we're talking about his particular 70-point game, it was a little nasty compared to the other guys. But, I mean, listen, I'll give him like 52, 55, maybe even 60. Because if you go back and look at some of those early, I mean, he was cooking in that whole game. But there has to be something more when teams win and blah, blah, blah. And that was personal versus Victor. And I hope he knows that. I hope he comes back and understands what that was.
And I also want to give credit to the Spurs for keeping it just close enough that Joel had to keep playing and keep scoring. Because if it was a blowout, obviously, we would have got maybe 3/4 worth. You know what I mean?
Yeah. It's one of those things where when you watch that game, you're like, man, how much more dominant can this guy be? And like, you wonder if he would have even been more selfish that game. He probably could have got to the 80 mark. Like, and really did the Kobe homage if you really wanted to.
Right.
But no, he did his stuff. Crazy day.
If you're the Sixers, does this give you more reason, more incentive to say, listen, we have an all-time season from an all-time player. And maybe we're not title contenders right now. Should we try to move Tobias Harris, make a move?
Can I ask why they're not title contenders?
You have told me on this podcast that they're not title contenders.
No, but I want to ask why though. Why were they last year? I think
the obsession with teams winning big threes and stuff. They see Maxey and Embiid, and I don't know if they see that as a title team, but if you add another star there, I'm not saying it's Zach LaVine, but someone like that, now all of a sudden it looks more like a title team. When you see the Bucks and you see Damian Lillard, Giannis, Chris Middleton, or Brook Lopez, where you want to put there, whatever, then you see the Celtics, their entire starting five. Then you have the Sixers up there. That I don't see it's Maxey, who this is his first year being a big star, and then Joel, the MVP.
I agree. But this is my reaction to that. Everybody talks about James Harden isn't this, James Harden isn't that. James Harden isn't a postseason player. So if that is the only difference between this team and last year, why was it they have to win the finals or coaching changes were necessary?
Well, they also lost James Harden, and their team is pretty much, they obviously picked up Batum and some good, role players, but if that team lost in the second round and then you lose a guy like James Harden, who's a top, 40 player in the NBA, whatever you want to say, then how are they now a title contending team? Joel just got that much better. Maxey got that much better. They did.
No, I agree with you. My point is like, I think that it's just like, then we have different narratives for different reasons. Yeah. It's like, James isn't this. Okay, then so why were last year Philly supposed to win the championship if James wasn't that?
Right.
It's like, so which one is it?
Right. No, I understand. And listen, I know what you're saying. Like last year was they maxed out with that team last year. They did as good as they could. No, okay, so how about this? I'll give you this. The Sixers could win the title this year, but it would take a Herculean effort from Joel Embiid. I think he would have to score, average 40 throughout the playoffs. Now, that could, if Joel averages 40 throughout the playoffs and they could ride that wave and Max is giving his 25, 30, whatever, and they could be title contenders. I could see that. What I'm saying is if they make a move, maybe Joel doesn't have to average 40 something in the playoffs for him to be that good, right?
No, I agree. Listen, I don't think Philly's contending for a title. I think they're a really good team who go in the playoffs and make some noise and make it very difficult for somebody. With that being said, to your point, they do have the most dominant player in basketball. And with that being said, like, anything can happen. If this guy's able to like play like this in the playoffs, look out. He hasn't been able to in his career. He's obviously been good, but he hasn't been able to play to this level. If he's able to play at this level in the playoffs, then they are dangerous.